We are the Meltdown, and we're here with yet another retro trailer reaction. This series looking to reintroduce and put the spotlight on some notable movies from previous years. All of the choices featured within this series have been hand-selected by our Meltdown crew. Some of these selections include some of us completing first-time watches, and some include those timeless classics that we may have all seen numerous times. Join us throughout all of Season 1 for a look at the retro trailers and the discussions that follow. Today's entry is 1993's What's Eating Gilbert, Grape, starring Johnny Depp, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Juliette Lewis, and it is directed by Lasse Hallström. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times described it as, quote, one of the most enchanting films of the year, and he also said that DiCaprio deserved to win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, for which he was nominated. Leo was also nominated at the Golden Globes, but it was Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive that ended up winning both of those awards. Film Review quoted actor Leonardo DiCaprio saying, quote, I had to really research and get into the mind of somebody with a disability like that, so I spent a few days at a home for mentally ill teens. We just talked and I watched their mannerisms. People have these expectations that these children are really crazy, but it's not so. It's refreshing to see them because everything's so new to them. In an interview with Cosmopolitan, Johnny Depp revealed that he was facing personal difficulties during the filming of What's Eating Gilbert, Grape due to his breakup with Winona Ryder. He acknowledged that he was depressed during the filming and that these challenges had an impact on his less-than-friendly treatment of DiCaprio on set, telling Cosmopolitan, quote, it was a hard time for me, that film, for some reason. I don't know why. I tortured him. I really did. It was later revealed that Johnny Depp had been offered the role of Jack Dawson in Titanic, which DiCaprio ultimately played after Depp declined the opportunity. Peter Hedges wrote the screenplay for What's Eating Gilbert, Grape based on his 1991 novel of the same name. And when you look at the film's page on Letterboxd, the top user review from Gusco states, nobody ate him. So with that, let me introduce our panel. I am Meltdown host Tim Melton. That is my co-host, John Lunsford.
Foodland is evil.
I disagree with that. Our producer is Tyler Johns.
I was disappointed that Gilbert did not eat any grapes throughout the entire movie.
That also occurred. And we also have our cherished Meltdown contributor, Rockstar, who you see daily on The Next Round.
Match in the gas tank. Boom, boom.
The film was Rockstar's selection, so Rockstar, why did you pick 1993's What's Eating Gilbert, Grape?
I'm trying to go back to my mentality of when I put all this stuff in. This is one of those movies. It's one of my favorite roles by DiCaprio. It's incredible. It's inspired an impression from me that I don't do often anymore. But it's one of those films that's just so interesting. You can see why Depp was depressed, because he's depressed in this film the whole time. Like he's just wandering. He's in charge of his brother and his mother, and it's just in the all-star cast. So you got Crispin Glover as driving a hearse everywhere and everybody getting up. I just thought it was a great movie all around. It's one of those things that there's hardly any action. It's all dialogue. And it's just a great film.
Without any further hesitation, let's now go ahead and all together watch the retro trailer for What's Eating Gilbert, Grape.
Andorra. It's a town where nothing much ever happens. This is where I live with my family. Doctor said we'd be lucky if Arnie lived to be 10.
I could go at any time.
Arnie, don't be rude. Some days you want him to live.
I killed him, Gilbert.
I know, buddy.
Okay, son, come down now.
Bye.
Some days you don't.
When is this gonna stop?
And then there's Mama.
That's my mom in there.
You see, with Mama, there's no nice way to break it to you.
She's not all that big, Gilbert. I saw a guy at the state fair who was a little bit bigger.
I haven't always been like this.
I haven't always been like this.
Gilbert, I'll need a delivery later.
If nothing ever happens here,
it's those lobsters, isn't it?
Why does it always happen to me?
Sometimes I just want to stick her head in the oven and turn on the gas.
I got nowhere to go.
Gilbert, please don't disappear.
We're taking taking him in. We've warned you. We've warned your sisters.
They say there's a reason for everything.
My son! Give me my son!
Maybe someday I'll figure out what it is.
Oh, look, it's a praying mantis. You know how they mate? The male will sneak up on the female, and she'll bite off his head, and the rest of his body will keep on mating. And then when they're done, she'll eat him.
So there we have it. There's the trailer for What's Eating Gilbert Grape. From this point on, we'll be including spoilers in our discussion points. So if you'd like to watch the movie first and come back to us, feel free to pause this video now. As we saw in parts of the trailer, Gilbert Grape is a small-town young man with a lot of responsibility. Chief among his concerns are his mother, who is so overweight that she can't leave the house, and his mentally impaired younger brother, Arnie, who has a knack for finding trouble. Settled into a job at a grocery store and an ongoing affair with a local woman, Betty Carver, Gilbert realizes that he is going to have his life shaken up by the free-spirited Becky. So, John, with all of that, what is your take on What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
I feel like everybody's been waiting to hear my reaction to this more than anything.
How much do you respect it?
I very, very much like this movie.
Wow.
All right.
I did it.
You did it. Congratulations,
Thank
Rocky.
I very
Because
much like
it's depressing as hell, and
Yeah.
you love depressing
I love
movies.
depressing things. It's a very well acted movie. I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was incredible in it. I agree with Tommy Lee Jones winning an Oscar. I also would agree with Leonardo DiCaprio potentially winning an Oscar for this if had it happened.
I hate
I'd
to
like the
interrupt because you're on
fugitive-
a roll, but Leonardo DiCaprio in any other year wins the Oscar. He was just
Correct.
happened to be going up what was
Correct.
an all-time great performance by Tommy Lee Jones.
And little did people know at that point that Leonardo DiCaprio would go on and become,
Yeah.
arguably the greatest actor of all time. So, and took forever. I started thinking about that. Like, then a few years later, he does Titanic, which easily could have potentially won an Oscar for there. And then he goes on and continues to do movies, The Departed. I mean, you just name it until finally, then The Revenant wins. And I still have not seen The Revenant, but
It's probably in the bucket put in there by Tyler.
probably
I did not put the Revenant in there
because I
actually.
know it's a little rough, and I'm not big on those.
Almost
but,
unbearable.
but he was incredible, very deserving. I thought Johnny Depp was very good as well, and hearing the backstory there that you did kind of helps add to it. I've never been a big Juliette Lewis fan in general. She's not bad. I don't dislike her acting. I just, for some reason, have never really been a big fan of hers. But I thought she was good in it. I hate the sisters from that family.
Well, the older sister wasn't that bad.
The older sister wasn't that bad. The younger,
They're always
the younger
whining.
one was
Younger one's a bitch.
was evil.
Yeah. Flicking
and-
him off when she's playing her trumpet.
When Johnny Depp backed up to almost run over her in the chair, it's like, good. It's like, just go run her over because she's not been acting right. But I thought I thought the affair with Betty was going to be odd and take me out of it, and it eventually brought me back more into it. I think it was a little weird at first, kind of how it was introduced, but ultimately ended up liking it. And I like Mary Steenburgen, all right. It just had a good cast of characters. It had a very well acted story. I didn't need action because the story moved along. I like slower movies as long as there's a point to the slowness, and I think there was a point to the slowness in this. It's not a perfect movie by any means, and if it was made nowadays, it would have to be very different. So seeing it for the first time 31 years later, there's certain things that's like, I'm curious. Now, you could not make a movie like this today, I don't think, with the actors playing the roles that they were playing. But if the movie were made today, strictly from a technical standpoint, from how the script's written and all that kind of stuff, it would have to be done a little differently. But it's nice to go back and see a movie like this that very much is an A24 movie before A24 existed.
There's something in this review of yours that I'm shocked you didn't get to, and we'll get to it here in just a few seconds. Tyler, I want to go ahead and head to you. What are some of the elements you liked and disliked about What's Eating Gilbert Grape as you watched it as well for the very first time?
Yeah, I really liked this movie. I thought the cast was really solid. You've got obviously a great performance from Leo, but no one's mentioned Johnny Depp's performance, and I think he does a great job as just sort of the older brother, but still a kid, has to be, the man of the house and take care of all of these responsibilities that are kind of out of his league. And I thought he did a great job portraying that. I liked seeing John C. Reilly.
Assuming that's what you were talking
along
about.
with Mary Steenburgen. That was great. Just solid casting. Crispin Glover, and
see, for me, Crispin Glover was the one that didn't fit. John C. Reilly very much fit into the story, and he was good. And I like John C. Reilly, obviously, but like Crispin Glover, every time I pop up, it's like, why is he there?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the friendship between John C. Reilly and Johnny Depp was good and fit, and the whole thing about the Burger Barn. I mean, I like that. Like
the Burger Barn coming.
He was obsessed with the Burger Barn coming, and then it was
There's
funny.
Real milk in that milkshake.
Yeah, and then they hated it. But Crispin Glover, every time he popped up, it's like, now what is he doing there again? Why is he there again?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get into some of the things that I liked here. Tyler, I assume you are complete with your review of
pretty much.
Grape.
It was a great movie.
I love that the fact of this movie leaning narratively into a part of America that other films with a pretty cast, because if you put this cast just in a lineup, it's like, oh, that's a pretty cast. Most films would choose to avoid this territory with a cast like that. And actually, Leo was almost passed over because they thought he was too good looking for the part of Arnie. He wore a mouthpiece throughout the production, which you can see in some of the behind the scenes where he'll spit it out in order to, be a teenager there working behind the scenes, just trying to get back to playing video games, which drove Johnny Depp crazy. Johnny Depp wanted nothing to do with video games, and Leonardo DiCaprio was obsessed with video games on the set, and he'd always be talking about video games. It's real. This movie, it feels real. It's ugly. It's frustrating, and it's beautiful all at the same time somehow. It's got this weird combination of a part of America that really doesn't get a lot of focus. John C. Reilly in a supporting role is always a win. He talks about Burger Barn the way I talk about Culver's, and I really do feel a spiritual connection with his character.
Do we not know that if Culver's was the inspiration for Burger Barn?
It may have been. Depp and DiCaprio play their relationship so authentically, and when Depp finally snaps and physically assaults DiCaprio, I feel my heart ripped out of my chest every time because it plays so authentically. And I don't just feel bad for Artie, I also feel bad for Gilbert too, which is a powerful thing to pull off. Because I don't know of a lot of films where someone who's abusing someone who's mentally challenged, you can feel sorry for the person who's doing the abusing. But this film somehow makes you feel that way.
You have to do a good job with not only the abusing, like you understand why he happened, but then you have to do a very good job with the feeling regret afterward. It's a two-part. So for me, it's not when he finally snaps, it's when he snaps and then is like, oh crap, like I can't believe I did that. Then that's when it's like, oh, you really do believe like he really feels remorse for doing that.
It's like a magic trick on film that I fall for every single time because I really am emotionally connected to where both perspectives are in the abuse that takes place. Darlene Cates, who passed away in 2017, ironically in her sleep at the age of 69, because that is how her character passes away in this movie. After years of health problems, Cates dropped nearly 250 pounds with the hope of acting again. After her passing in 2017, Leo said, quote, "Darlene was the best acting mom I ever had the privilege of working alongside." The scenes of her fighting for her son in the police station and then Artie finding her dead are two of the most emotional scenes in the movie. And she is a force in this movie, I feel like. And these days, and I don't want to take anything away from any other performances, but there's so much prosthetics used to help build character in a lot of films these days. And the fact that she was on that set and knew what that script involved and knew sort of the punchline she could end up becoming if she doesn't actually make this a character that people connect with, I give her acting a lot of credit. And DiCaprio even wrote her a letter after the filming of this talking about how impactful her acting was on the set and what it meant to him. He had a true connection with her, and you feel that radiating across the screen. The 90s music, the score, just the feel of that early 90s, they get that right, even though obviously we're looking at it from a hindsight perspective. It is sort of a warm feeling going back to that era and having that score. It reminds me of something I loved about Kindergarten Cop, just that score letting you know, hey, we're here in the early 90s. There's some things I wasn't wild about. Some of them have been brought up already. Crispin Glover he's given nothing to work with in this movie. I mean, he really makes the most of nothing. His character could have been completely removed from the film and it would have felt the exact same experience. The local Gilbert Grape affair side plot, I don't like. I think it's an absolute mess. It takes me out of the movie. It's got too many layers. There's like death involved in it, but it's like kind of funny too. I don't know. I don't like it tonally.
The husband still wants to like give him a job, and he's like navigating around that.
It's always weird. Annoying to me when that gets in the way of where I feel the momentum of the movie's going. I don't like the affair subplot.
It didn't fit at first, and then I kind of came into it with him constantly saying, hey, come by my office, and you think, oh, he's going to finally say something, and then it turns out just to be an insurance ploy. Then she calls, and then obviously it all goes downhill from there. The death was, okay, that's maybe a step too far for it. I was still into it more. The death was a step too far, and I thought the final scene where she goes to the grocery store is basically like, okay, bye. Like, that was their final farewell as Juliette Lewis comes in and says, he's all yours now. Like, I like that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. It's not the best subplot of the movie, but it didn't take me out of the movie overall. As John pointed out, Juliette Lewis, who's fine in this role, not a leading lady, and it comes across in this film. I think she does a fine job with the role that's given, but I am not a Juliette Lewis fan by any means, just too eccentric for me to fully care about. The film's plot at times feels repetitive, as it's just pressure that keeps building on Depp the entire time, and just about everything that can go wrong goes wrong. I feel like it's not a movie I like to rewatch often. It's one I like to watch every 10 years to remember how strong it is, but this is not a movie where it's like, hey, want to watch What's Eating Gilbert Grape and hang out? And so it's not, the rewatchability factor isn't there. That's not taking away from its excellence, though. Gilbert Grape is easily the worst grocery delivery guy ever caught on film. He drops food a lot.
He's dropping it a lot. He's getting it wet in the rain. He doesn't take it seriously.
Hooks up with his clients.
He goes to Foodland where he's going to the lobster tank and he's kind of looking around at the competitor.
When he gets busted by his old boss.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the worst at his job. Also, one thing I hate, and this is my last complaint. There's a musical in development being described as an actor-singer instrumentalist show in which each performer will play multiple characters and instruments, where they're making What's Eating Gilbert Grape into a musical.
I think this could be a great play. And I feel like it kind of plays out like a play, but a musical, not so much.
Absolutely not. Rockstar.
Yes.
With this film being your selection, you get the final word on What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
There's the impactful scenes, the him hitting Arnie, but the thing is the pressure that's building on Gilbert, where he's having, I think that's where the affair comes into, where you need that, because him having an affair, where he's kind of seen as this hero, where he's taking his family under the wings, his massive mom and his mentally challenged brother and his two sisters that don't help contribute. So he's like working at the local store, the general store. Then he has a side piece, and then the scenes where like him even putting Arnie to bed. Like where he's throwing his feet in the air with his PJs in his top bunk, and it's just like, my God, just go to, like, it's just such a heavy day for Gilbert and then his mom. And then the scene where he's letting kids come watch his mom eat. You know, he's lifting them up and letting them see, and the sister throws a baked potato at the window. And that's my mom in there. And DiCaprio's performance, that just, I feel so bad that he didn't get anything for that. It's true, if Tommy Lee Jones any other year would have been, it's just remarkable to see his acting chops, and then he wins for something like The Revenant, which is, I just don't.
The Revenant is it's a fine production.
He just wakes up from a dream every 5 minutes, and he eats a raw fish. Cool.
Oh, I forgot to mention one scene. The shot where his mom gets in the car and you see the car driving down the road. That really took me out because the car is just leaning. I thought, that's a lot.
Oh, the water tower scene where, like, you got to promise me it's the last time. I already promised him it's the last time. It's the last time, but I won't go back up there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that stuff. He drops his shoe. He's got those Velcro shoes. I think they're Silver Series. I had a pair of those. It's just everything. I just love the film, but I love that it's not an action-packed film. It is all dialogue, but I love that movie.
And he's surprised that DiCaprio was 19 filming this, because he does not come across as a 19-year-old in this.
He does not at all.
He does not until the end, when it skips ahead a year, and then he has a different haircut, and I'm like, that looks like the Leonardo DiCaprio of the time. It looks like not Titanic Leo, but like Romeo and Juliet Leo a little bit. And it's like, it's more of he's matured. He's now 19 in that scene in the movie, that it's like he's turned a little more into Leonardo DiCaprio at that point. And he's not put on for the character he's playing.
That was post-growing pains, Leo.
Yeah. Filming for What's Eating Gilbert Grape began November 2nd of 1992. It concluded in late January of 1993. It was shot in the state of Texas in various towns and cities. And then you had Christian Bale reportedly up for the role of Arnie, but lost out to DiCaprio, who really wanted this part badly. I recommend you go check out DiCaprio talking about how he reacted to getting this part, because it was one that he had absolutely cherished the idea of playing this role and turned down other films in order to have a chance at this one. And it still, you can tell, resonates with him to this day, the importance that he had felt taking on that job and that responsibility and getting it right. And he certainly did. It's only Academy Award nomination. The film's only Academy Award nomination was for DiCaprio's performance. The film had a wide release on March 4th of 1994. The wide release garnered just $2.1 million in its first weekend, as it was considered a box office bomb, with the total gross for the film being $10 million. Although it then achieved greater success on home video as more people found out about it, it finally received a Blu-ray release in August of 2022. So it took a long time to finally get this film on Blu-ray. And it's a movie that...
Blu-ray pretty much died before that movie got on it.
I was about to say.
It was around the same part there. That's the most depressing thing about the film, right? It finally gets released on Blu-ray, and then nobody buys Blu-rays anymore. But that's all you need to know about What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Is this a movie you appreciate all these years later? Let us know in the comment section below, and make sure you look at our title sponsor, John. That is MyBookie.
Go to mybookie.ag. Promo code next round. You see it right there in the corner. Play in the sportsbook, play in the casino, play in the live casino as well. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere.
If you don't want to miss any of our retro trailer reactions, make sure you go ahead and subscribe right here to The Meltdown, as we're going to be taking a look back at all of these different films that are in the Dune popcorn bucket, as we're looking forward to talking about them with you right here on this lovely little experiment and online at Meltdown 24/7.